Hey, welcome to the live 2025 hail forecast. We appreciate you jumping on this Thursday afternoon. And if you're listening later on the Hail Chatter podcast, we appreciate you jumping on and watching later on as well. If you're watching us live right now and you want to see this forecast again, you can always watch once again at Hail Chatter. You can get that wherever you can find your podcasts, YouTube, and Facebook. I'm meteorologist Taylor Cox. We also have John Choquett, meteorologist here at Hail Trace, Collin Hunt and the marketing team at Hail Trace as well. And of course, I know that many of you know our CEO, Derik Kline. So we want to just jump right into it here. We're showing the 2025 hail forecast today, the same one that you all saw back on the Raising Hail Tour. However, we have had storms already this year. So we're also talking about what we've seen so far, how accurate have we been so far, and what to expect for the rest of the season. So put your comments and your questions in the comments section. Also, we're going to be including a link in the comments section to win some merch. So if you've been to the Raising Hail Tour, you've seen that we give out t-shirts and stress balls that look like hail. So we're going to be sending out t-shirts to a few lucky winners, and we'll put that in the comment section of how to win. So let's go ahead and get started. We will toss it over to our CEO, Derik Kline, to kick off. What have we seen in 2024 that was accurate, that our hail forecast hit right on the mark in 2024?
Well, we've seen an active start for sure, right? Once we got to March, which was a common thread in all of our health forecasts. That's one of the reasons why you want to try to get out and watch the health forecast when we do it early. Um, excuse me. Is that we talked about the year taking a little bit longer than last year to get started, and it did so. But once we got to March 14th, the green light flashed for Mother Nature, and she started slinging some hailstones for us. And we kicked things off with St. Louis, almost identical to last year, really. And we recap this in part of our forecast, where had a big 4-star event in St. Louis on March 14th this year, which carried over into our first 5-star event, which occurred later that evening in Owensboro, Kentucky, and then kind of went up all the way up to the north side, across the Indiana state line into the north side of Louisville there. Had a big time event there, and then even later that same night. So this was a pretty big storm system. Later that same night, we had kind of unexpected. And Taylor, I think this is one of the themes of all your forecasts, right? Is watch out for that risk area. It's not always spot on when it comes to what you see is what you get, I guess would be a great way, because we had a non-risk area in College Station produce a 4-star map later that evening. And then that storm system really, go ahead, Taylor. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the things that we talked about over and over and over the last month, is that it doesn't matter if it's just a marginal risk or maybe there's no risk at all. You can still get a rogue hailstorm to really impress you and be
Mhm.
really, really impressive, overperform. And that's what we've seen not once, but twice this year. Once was College Station, and I know that you'll get to that second one here in just a minute.
Yeah, I mean, really all the risks almost. So St. Louis was a pretty advertised area for there to be significant hail. I think we were 30% hatched. For those of you that don't know, hatched typically indicates that there's a 10% or greater chance of hail 2 inches in diameter or larger. And so we were 30% hatched for St. Louis. I am not sure what our hail risk was for Owensboro. They might have been in that 30% hatched as well. I know it kind of extended into that southeast area, but obviously College Station had nothing. If I remember correctly, we went to Greensboro, North Carolina, was our next event, which was a very high-end 4-star event. Potentially might have been a 5-star event, honestly. And that, from if I remember right, it was a slight risk day, but it was a 5% hail day. So very low on the hail side as well with that one. And that kind of rounded up that first storm system, right? So we had this big storm system that traversed across the entire US. So it produced a handful of 3 and 4 star, and including a 5 star map. As it did so, a significant amount of damage, whether it's hail, wind, or tornadoes from that particular storm system. And that was March 14th and 15th, I believe, were the two, maybe, and the 16th was with that particular one. So, and then, then we transgressed to well, just the other day, right? And we produced another 5 star event in Dallas, Texas. Shocking enough, right? So the up towards Allen and Wiley area of Dallas. Took on the 5 star event up there. So, and this really lines up with what our forecast was. We, believe it or not, a lot of people are like, "Well, why'd you put North Carolina as having a high end hail map?" We actually had it purple, a 5 star event. And sure enough, I mean, right in the bat, like boom, there it is. I think the one we've under forecast a little bit was Kentucky, but St. Louis, Illinois, Dallas, like all that stuff was forecast. And again, another reason why, man, if you can find a way to get to one of our forecast events, I think, it's super powerful. So, man, look at all the chats coming in now. So Wiley got hammered, Louisiana. So I'm always curious, like how many of you are actually from these locations? If we, I actually think it's funny if we flipped roles, right? Okay, so this is obviously a lot of roofing contractors, and they're like, or PDR guys, or and they're like, I want it to hail at my house, bring it on to my house. But if we flip the script here, and we're like the TV meteorologists, they're like, I don't want it to hail, I don't want it to hail. They're listing cities that are not where they live. So I always find this
Uh-huh.
humorous. Wow, look at all of them coming in here. So everybody's ready for the hail
Everyone's
forecast,
ready for the
right?
forecast. They want to see
They're
what's
on the
going to
edge of their
come and not what
seats.
happened already.
And a
They're like,
lot of these
shut
people,
up.
a lot of these people are in areas that have already been hit. And so they're looking, they're saying, are we going to get it again? Or
Uh,
Lubbock, Midland, Amarillo, Colorado, Canton,
mhm.
Ohio. We have a lot of people from all over the US, even some Ontario in here. Oh,
Oh
did
no,
we lose Derik?
we lost Derik.
What?
Yeah.
Whoops. Well, hey, while
Well,
we're waiting on him
well,
to jump
I
back
was
in, we can show you the storm severe weather recap. And let me see if I know that this is what he was talking about just a few minutes ago, but let me see if I can get through here and show you. So here is your 3-star storms that we've seen so far this year. This was all on March 8th. If you remember those early morning DFW storms, we saw some, I like this middle picture right here because you can see just all of the hail markings on the garage and on the siding here, coming through windows. So that was in DFW.
and
We were
Taylor.
actually live during that event. Yeah.
Yeah, and was that the storm where the wind was picking up the hail and throwing it up against houses like through windows? Was that storm, or was that?
I mean, yeah, you can see that hail had come through that
Yeah.
window. It looks like there.
Because that was a
Yeah.
little bit of a smaller hailstorm, or at least it was more like golf ball size hail or smaller, but the wind seemed like to actually create a lot more destruction on that type of storm.
I thought it was interesting that there was a lot of people afterwards that said, oh, that's tornado impacts. That's what we see from a tornado, but that wasn't the case. It was just extremely high wind. Yeah, so you're exactly right, Collin, that the high wind was very impactful on that day. Let's see, did anyone experience that? We've got some people from Wiley in here. Let's see if we've got anyone else. DFW, yeah. Ryan said, is DFW going to get a good bit of storms this year? I did a map of all the storms that we've gotten in the US this year, and so many of them are in Texas, have been in Texas. Here's your 4-star storms.
Yeah, and typically a lot of people in the DFW Metroplex, March is when storms really do start getting going, and that's obviously what happened here. And I mean, it can continue all the way into June. There's Derik. So the fact that we've already gotten a couple of storms, it's a promising look here. Again, if you've been to our event already, you know what the forecast is. If you haven't, it's kind of the start of what's more to come. And one of the things that can be some of the most destructive hailstorms is these early season storms where you have, a much thicker area of cold air to work with, and it's not as warm at the surface. So these hailstones typically are a little bit harder. And when you have that wind, the wind-driven hail can become incredibly destructive, which we've already seen a couple times this year. And the hail season really didn't actually start till just about 3 weeks ago. So kind of an idea where to go here. It's like Derik's internet may be slightly choppy, so I'll try my best to chop in to cut in every once in a while here. But we got a ton of people in the chat, so I think it's probably a good call to just kind of roll with the forecast. Have people not wait much longer. So go ahead, Derik.
Awesome. Well, so here's kind of what we're looking at is, what we want to do is we really want to take a look at the Pacific Ocean. It's a huge driver of our weather here in the U.S. And so it's a part of the world that we really have to focus and really kind of try to pay attention to. Now we just, I think we just left La Nina and we're back in neutral again now. I think I read that actually this week. So I'm not sure if that's the case or not, but we've been in a very weak La Nina. And what's different from past years really has been more about the swing in the La Nina or the El Nino. So last year we had this just violent swing from a strong to another medium or strong as well. Whereas this year we've kind of just been meandering in this neutral and weak phase, and a lot of times that indicates a lot of times it actually trends more towards less severe weather in the U.S. When we're not having this violent swing. And think about weather, right? Like when our weather is the worst, that is when we see we have this violent swing in our activity. So we're seeing things that are like, a big cold front that comes in. Like if the stronger the cold front, usually the worse the weather is along that cold front. The stronger the warm front, the worse the weather is on that warm front. And that's typically how we get to, really, really bad weather is having these big swings. But what we've noticed is, and John, I think you really pointed this out when we were, going through trying to produce our forecast, is that cold pocket that's up by Alaska, and that's called the Pacific Decadal Oscillation. But it's essentially telling us that we've got this cold area, and that a lot of times leads to more severe weather. And what we've noticed, which we're kind of in an unusual pattern, is that it's made the weather in the U.S. behave closer to a medium or a strong La Nina. And we've seen that with some of the weather that we've noticed, right? Some of the wildfire issues. Honestly, some of how violent some of these storms have been, like with the dry and the wind behind them. Really, really typical in a La Nina type pattern where you get on average warmer than usual most places, but when it does get cold, it tends to get really cold. So the extremes in a La Nina pattern are usually more, whereas in an El Nino pattern, the extremes aren't quite as big. And so we've kind of seen that. And so what does that mean for us in our weather? Well, when we kind of go through now, this isn't the end all be all, right? This isn't saying, okay, we got black red squares, that means there's going to be lots of hail in those locations. But what this does mean is that and it's interesting, right? If you're thinking about the weather that we've had so far, right? And you're looking at this map and you're like, okay, I see you, right? And that's because the weather is patterns, right? But this is telling us what our outbreak potential is. Okay, so it could be. Go ahead, John.
For the month of it, this one specifically, the month of April shown here.
For the month of April, right? So,
yeah.
and I would say you can kind of like flip flop that on either side. So May or March, like the patterns don't really swing a whole lot. But if you look at March, right? Now we're gonna see the western part of this kick in as we get into April and May. But the eastern portion, right? The Tennessee, the Arkansas, the Kentucky, the Illinois part of this, that's typically we're going to see that in March, and that's exactly what we've seen so far this year. And I think when I disconnected, what I was wanting to say was all of this forecast was put together almost 3 months ago. Okay, so a lot of the stuff that we're going, wow, look, this is exactly what's happening, was forecasted 3 months ago. And that's what's so incredible about really recognizing these patterns and then understanding what impact they're going to have on our weather. And so as we go through, we want to look at different years that have different patterns. And 2001 was one that really stood out. John, I think you found this pattern match, right? Or it's the closest that we could get, or one of the closest that we could get. And we had 1976, which it's a long time ago. Really difficult to know. There might be a few people in here or watching that remember the weather from 1976, or at least they think they remember the weather from 1976. But overall, 2001 was an above average year. And so it was slightly above average, but it was an above average year. We also had one of the most historic hailstorms in U.S. history. At the time, I did over $1.5 billion in damage, which is incredible if you think about 2001. But essentially what happened in this period, we went La Nina into a neutral phase, and then eventually went into an El Nino as well. And so that's kind of what we had. Hey, we have a trivia question, I guess. So we could ask this trivia question, answer it in the chat. What is the name of the town that holds the record for the largest hailstone in U.S. history? I'm curious if anybody actually, they're all on the computer, so they should be able to like Google it, right?
Yeah, there could be some cheating going on.
Google
or just
it up.
Using your resources.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm a cheater. I know that 100%. So,
and Derik, that
yeah.
hailstone, don't we have a replica of that hailstone in the office?
We do. Somebody might have one there at the office right now. I don't know.
Yeah.
Somebody should. Thing weighed like 2 pounds
the
too.
Hailstone that it's the hailstone we have around that we float around.
World famous.
Okay.
World famous
Let's see.
hailstone.
We have some potential answers in here. Oh, John's got it. Perfect.
Yeah, I got it right here.
There it is. I knew John would have it.
Yeah, it's in our office. So
where is it? Oh, okay. I got to scroll down. Wow, we got a lot of chats on here.
Somebody said South Dakota. So
yep,
South Dakota.
That's the right state. I do not know what that one is. Somebody went world. I don't think the world one's verified. Although, where is it? It's somewhere in India, right? That probably actually has the largest hail, which is not been verified. There it is.
Vivian, South Dakota. There it is.
There it is.
Very nice.
You even got it to slide across the screen for that one. That's nice. For the world, it's yeah. I don't know. I'm curious. I don't remember how big that world one is. I know that area has like some insane humidity though. It's like absurd. Yeah. Like 85-degree dew points year round. It's pretty crazy.
Holy moly.
So now that we've made everybody like watch the map that they've been waiting for, and we did like this dramatic pause for them, now we can actually show them the forecast. So this is where everybody has to hold their breath, right? So your eyes are fixated on a spot on the map, and you're hoping that you're going to see red on your spot on the map. So far, and man, did we get a threat to this right yesterday? Because I think if it would have hailed, like if there would have been 2 reports of hail anywhere in the northeast or the northwest, the northwest, we definitely would have went to the above average. Probably should have made that red, but dodged the bullet yesterday. Climatology won, and we didn't get any real. I don't think we got any severe weather. Last I looked, we had nothing. So,
but Derik, it's the false hope that maybe we could have gotten hail over there.
It was exciting. I was glued. I was glued to the radar. But climatology won, and they stayed green. So I don't know if that makes them below average, but whatever. So there's our average activity, and that's what we got for the whole U.S. So we're done. Actually, I kid. There we go. There's our orange. There's our orange. And I'll be darned. Look at that. Big shocker. But look at that. We had the early outbreak again. Remember, this was done months ago. And then you've got your most active, and really anybody that's in that hatched area, it's going to back up to Denver, which Denver, being above average, that's saying something, right? So they get a lot of hail in Denver. So some people call it Hail Alley up there. So that's saying a lot. But we're looking at, Oklahoma City, potentially Tulsa. Dallas obviously has already had their event. Lots of stuff on here.
And that
I
early
guess,
outbreak
Mhm.
area, Derik, that is such a testament to our meteorologists. And John made so many of these graphics that's exactly what we saw. March 14th, March 15th, March 16th, that's where we saw that
There it
early
is.
outbreak. Yeah, it's a
It's
testament
crazy.
to our forecast that was made months ago and
It
how
may
accurate
also
it already
happen
has
this
been.
weekend. Maybe this weekend as
Yeah.
well. So,
Yeah, the same spot. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, and it's it's almost like, I'm just thinking out loud here. It's almost like we study and look at hail a lot. I don't know why I feel that way, but I don't know. I don't know. It's like maybe we should have named ourselves after it.
Maybe that would have been a good idea. If only we would have thought about
Anyways,
that.
right? We might have should have included Missouri in this one on the season starting in March there, but and maybe we could have shaved Oklahoma out of there, I guess. Although we do have a threat tomorrow or Saturday in Oklahoma.
Saturday. Today's
Uh,
Thursday.
yeah, looks fairly conditional, but there could be some big uns in Oklahoma. But I
Yeah,
definitely think Missouri could have included Missouri in this box here.
For anyone
Yeah,
in
North
Oklahoma, they're feeling
Yeah.
left out on some of these storms.
It's coming, guys. So there's our
Southern
April.
Oklahoma got a little bit of hail yesterday
They did actually, yeah.
by the
I
Red
was
River.
I drove through one of them on my way to Houston. So, it happens. And there we go. There's May. So Denver, Minneapolis, Rapid City. You're gonna have to wait till May to kick things off. Those of our restoration fan followers in New York City, you're gonna have to wait till May as well. So I think I saw somebody say something about Ontario. That's probably going to be June. Would be that bucket should kick on. But this is essentially we're saying slightly above average to near average. This is actually what we're going to highlight here on this chart. It's kind of our confidence level for where storms. And now don't run off and leave yet. I know you guys are thinking like, okay, I got the forecast. We're going to give you the max star level in each state too, which is a really cool thing that we've started doing the last couple of years. And just to bring home our accuracy a little bit more, we got 92% of the states within 1 star level last year. So not too shabby of a forecast put together. So here it is though. So average and above average taking home the two top tiers for us. So if you're in Vegas right now, putting your odds down, we say you need to put your odds down on the above average quadrant, not the below average quadrant for U.S. severe hail. We're going to set the over underline in Vegas right now for about 7,300. That's where it is. 7,300 is the over under. And if I'm betting, I'm taking the over on that, but we'll see where that ends up at. John, where are you going? Over or under on 7,300?
Probably the over. I mean, we did have 328 reports in one day on March 14th,
Okay.
so that kind of helped kick them. Even if when I did this in January, I was leaning a little more on the above average side of average, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Taylor, how
I'm
about
also
you? What do
going
you got?
above average. Yeah, above average.
Over 7,300? Are you going orange or red quadrant on this little
The
bar
orange.
graph? The orange, okay.
Yeah. And I had a very, very similar reasoning whenever I saw those 300 plus hail reports on March, what was it, 14th, 15th? 14th.
14th. Yeah.
I was like, Oh yeah, we are absolutely hitting this. I mean, this is the first big outbreak of the season, and it feels like we have just continued to have hail risk after hail risk after hail risk. So I think that we could be well above average this year.
Nice.
I'll go above average.
Okay, I was gonna say, do
We'll
I
go
need to
too
put you in the
crazy.
8100 quadrant? Like,
We'll go too crazy.
hey, scared money don't make none. So
We don't want to kill our meteorologists mapping those storms. So
hey, we didn't get Collin's feedback. Collin, where are you at on this bar?
Okay, I'm not even a meteorologist, so for me to bet against
Me
you
neither.
guys, like
I'm not either.
that would not be. I mean, above average, I would guess, hoping for even more.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
going for above average, hoping for more. So here's our max star levels. This is like the moment of truth. But again, we're still good though. Right now we're at a 0 star for Washington. So we're holding on strong up there. Is that almost a precursor? Did we almost call the 2-star in Oregon? So there's your 3-star states. Again, Kentucky went 5. So again, our goal is to be within 1-star level. So we definitely missed it on Kentucky this year. But that's all right. We missed it on the right side. So there's our 4 stars. So Oklahoma, Kansas, Nebraska, a little bit disappointed probably by that. But again, we want to get it within 1. So hopefully it's a 5. And there you go. We got the 5 already there. You know what? North Carolina might actually be a 5. So Dallas, Texas, we already had our 5 there. We're not done with 5 stars in Texas, by the way. You guys got more coming, I promise. 5-star, either Denver, Colorado Springs, I don't know, somewhere. I think we'll get something like that. And then Minneapolis doesn't miss on more than 1 or 2 years very often. So I think we're going to have to fire that one up as well. And there it is. There's the perfect map.
And it really is almost perfect because I'm looking at, I mean, I know that you said Kentucky, so we went under in Kentucky, but I'm looking at the verification right here, and I'll actually share my screen so that you can see. Here's what we've got so far. So Derik mentioned that 5-star down in Texas. We've seen a 4-star in Missouri going into Illinois, and then a 5-star in Kentucky going into Indiana, and there's your 4-star down in Carolinas, in North Carolina. So very, very similar already to what we predicted months ago to what we have already seen this year.
Yeah, I'm gonna call it. We gotta put hail in our name somewhere. We know we're doing too well. Virginia, we got a 3-star. We got a 3-star in Virginia. Tennessee already has 5-star. I mean, maybe for you, Luke. It's definitely, that's the deal about the star level. I don't think most people, it's very subjective, right? Like I've always said, like, depending on the industry that you work matters, right? So like what's a 5-star for a roofer and what's a 5-star for a guy that pops dents out of a car? Completely different. The Wiley, Texas hailstorm the other day, which was a 5-star, probably a 5-star for both roofers and PDR guys, but the hail wasn't much bigger than 2-inch in diameter. So it dented cars that didn't crease the metal in the cars, or at least as much. So that helps that. But you get just a bunch of softballs, you're talking totaled cars. So the PDR guy doesn't like it as much. There's always a chance that, like in St. Louis, for example, like we have that as a 4-star map. But if the most intense part of that storm happened in your backyard, that's a 5-star all day long, right? Like you're the people in that community, everything about that community. You are going to kill it in that community. So that's what it's all about. Hey Jake, how's it going, buddy? So yeah, that's at the end of the day, it's all about what it means to you, and it's hard for us to say what it means for every single person. I will say, for the most part, the way that I'm looking at it, 5-star map, I want to see about $500 million or more in damage to call it a 5-star or one of those top tier events. So that's kind of the bar that I've set, and we'll have to readjust that bar as we move forward because it's the amount of damage because of population and how expensive things, inflation, right? Tariffs I hear a lot about right now. Whatever it is, right? Everything is going to relate to that. So maybe it needs to be 750 in a couple of years, right, or 700 million. But yeah, that's where we kind of look at that. Ron, we do this every year, and I've been thinking about maybe trying to do an update. So I don't know, maybe that could be kind of fun, something that we can do. If you guys want to see an update to the forecast, like say, April or May, maybe in April,
Maybe we do it.
April, called it April,
I'd say maybe a post Memorial Day.
post Memorial Day.
So that way
Okay, like that.
you're looking into further up north. So a lot of areas are already done, but then you have places like Colorado and Minnesota and stuff like their season are actually starting to get going.
With those summer storms. And we could also
Yeah.
add in a hurricane forecast with that as well, because that would be right around the time that we're starting to see some activity within about a month after Memorial Day.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, and then we kind of update the hurricane, which we're going to talk about hurricanes too. These are our final impact predictions over 6,800. You heard us here though. We're all kind of leaning on that 73 to 7,500, right? That's kind of where we set the over under at.
We had the wrong year.
8, 5. Yeah, I've done that like every presentation too. Everyone, I'm like, I got to change that, but I never do. So 8 5-star maps, 10 4-star maps. So we're 2 5-star maps so far and 3 4 stars. Is that right, or 4 4 stars?
4 4 stars.
We're cutting into that one quick. We're not even 3 weeks into the season. Dallas, 95%. We got that one. Thank you. 60% chance. This is a 4 or a 5-star. Okay, so it does not have to be a 5-star for this to come to fruition, but a 4-star will do. 60% in Denver, 35% in Oklahoma City, 25% in Chicago, 30% in Minneapolis. Few honorable mentions: 40% for Omaha, St. Louis. So that one happened. Kansas City hasn't happened yet. 5% for Atlanta, 10% for Nashville. How about this? Another 70 plus 3-star storm events. We got some work to do on that one. But I think as we get into this everyday hail season, we're going to start to see a bunch of those. Bunch of those are going to kick in. And it's going to be a little less active last year. So last year, the top 10 hail season in U.S. history. Okay, so big time hail season last year. This year, probably not as crazy. But still, nonetheless, it's going to be more active than what an average hail season is. So, good stuff. Good stuff. Want to talk about hurricanes?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. So I've got these. Oh, go ahead.
So
Collin,
Derik,
what'd you say?
so you're saying it's going to be slightly less hailstorms or hail reports from last year, but also you're comparing it to like one of the most active hail years.
Yeah.
Right. So it's still going to be a pretty big year for 2025.
And 2024 was even kind of a downgrade from 2023, which was the second busiest hail season we've ever seen. So we're in a pretty active pattern overall right now, which is a nice change of pace from the late 20 teens and 2021. So
all the way up to 22, right? 22 is average.
22 was about average.
Yeah, but it was still pretty meh. And we kind of have this theory, right, that that's how this works. That they tend to come in spurts. Like it's not like one this year and then next year is not. Like it's, if you go back like 2008, 2009, 2010, 11, 12, and 13 were all above average. And then 2014, 15, 16 were below average. 17 was a one-off where we went above average in 17, but then 18, 19, 20, 21, and 22 were average or below average. And then now all of a sudden 23, 24 have been very far above average, and we're expecting the same thing to continue right here. So it's interesting. So the busy hurricane season last year, although I would say on the insurance side, definitely wasn't a good year for hurricanes, especially with Helene. Helene, mainly from a roofing standpoint, was pretty bad in like Georgia and Florida, but also was more unpopulated areas of those states. So not as bad as it could have been had it hit a more populated area. But the flooding was really bad. And then we had Milton, right? Not Milfred.
Milton.
Milton.
Yeah.
Milton. I want to call it. I don't know why I want to call it the wrong name every time. It was a
You chased
very.
that one, too.
It was.
Yeah, you
It
were
was
down
not,
there, right?
I was. Yeah, it wasn't very memorable though. If the wind doesn't hit 120, although they said it was a major hurricane, uh, I'm gonna say no. So 105 was the strongest wind gust, but there definitely was some wind damage, like what is it? Who lost
The
their roof?
baseball
One of
stadium.
the baseball stadium, but what's the
Yeah, the
team?
Tampa.
Yeah.
It's Tampa's the
Tampa's
Rays,
team,
the
I don't
Tampa
know.
Bay Rays. The Rays.
Yeah.
Rays.
They lost their roof. I think they call it MetLife Stadium. It throws me off because I think of the Mets whenever you say that. So, but we had 18 named storms, 4 majors. Beryl, the earliest Cat 5. That was a pretty crazy intense storm.
Yeah.
First name storm was June 19th. That's actually later than a lot of years. Last name storm was November 18th. That's pretty late in the year. Yeah. So then we had Milton. Check that out. Look at it just fall apart right as it came on shore. I mean, just decayed.
And Milton, I mean, like it rapidly intensified out in
Mhm.
the Gulf. So we thought it was going to be a really big storm. And then all of a sudden, as it came on shore, it just completely fell apart, dryer into it, and just landfall was underwhelming.
They don't like that wind shear, and that there was a low pressure system coming across the U.S. had a big cold front, and as soon as Milton got close to that cold front, gone. Um, so that they do not like wind shear at all. But I think that wind shear enhanced the tornado side of Milton, and that was kind of the crazy part of Milton. There you can see the satellite images of those. I love the nighttime satellite image. That looks so cool. But yeah, here it is. You talk about your wind reports, how fast it formed, lots of flooding. Always flooding that's always a hurricane thing, right? I think in Florida they kind of just get used to that. But check out all the tornadoes. I mean, look at these tornado ones. Pop, 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 pop. I mean, it's not done yet. Boom, boom, there it goes. I mean, that's a lot of tornadoes.
It broke records. I think that's the next slide. That it was the number 2 highest
Look at that.
number of
Look at that.
tornadoes. Oh,
Yeah.
it's a lot.
hmm Not many people in Florida did not get a tornado warning that day.
Yeah, that's one of the things I was surprised learning about hurricanes is that it is such a high risk for tornadoes and it creates a substantial amount. That is it's amazing to see all of those.
Not as many tornadoes as you would think for the number of warnings, though. 13, 126 warnings and 13 tornadoes. So, yeah. We had more tornadoes the other day, for sure. But I
Yeah.
mean, this is still like some of these like EF3s though, like that's pretty rare in a
very uncommon.
So, I always say hurricane season, like I don't even really care about it till August 15th. Everything before is me. Now, of course, Beryl in Texas this year was before that date, and that probably still see damage down here in Houston right now from that one. So, but September 11th? Is that the peak, or September 9th?
September 10th. September 10th is the climatological peak, or whatever you want to call it.
Just like me to throw the dart on either side of the target. So,
yeah,
You're close.
yeah. I always thought this is a cool graphic, right? I should have put it zoomed out, not just Florida, but like all the landfalls, right? Of hurricanes. And that Taylor area, that two area right up there, like they've had a lot of hurricane landfalls the last couple of years right there. So this is a little bit delayed, so it's not showing those yet. But it's amazing that they hardly ever get them, and now all of a sudden they're having quite a few up there. So we'll see how that goes. So El Nino, so we'll see. Right now we're neutral, or maybe we're in a weak La Nina. Most people forecasting what the influence is going to be. They're kind of, I wouldn't say 50-50 because there's technically three versions, but they're like 33, 33, 33 right now. So, we could be neutral. We could be a little bit of La Nina. We could be a little bit of El Nino. If we do go to El Nino though, this is the one thing that is always true. El Nino, stronger vertical wind shear, trade winds, less hurricanes. Just a guarantee, lock it in. That's how it works. And if we go to La Nina, we're going to see more hurricanes. And really, if we're neutral, it's, there's technically neutral is just, it's a gray area in between El Nino and La Nina. So the closer you are to whichever one's probably going to have the bigger influence. But as of right now, we are closer to a La Nina, which would mean more hurricanes. Probably not as huge of an influence, but could mean some more. So here's your sea surface temperatures right now. So you got the Gulf Stream here coming up across the Florida Peninsula there. That's what that warm pocket is. The waters are warm. They're not as warm as they've been in the past few years, but it is still warm. And then here again, that's that forecast that we just talked about. So I guess you could say leaning towards La Nina or neutral, with the growing potential for El Nino as we get into August, September, and October. That's what that last bucket is there. Leaning towards that there. So there it is. The average season in the U.S. is 14, 7, and 3. Last year we were 18, 11, and 5. And I think wasn't last year like a historic forecast, and it just didn't quite. It took a long time to get going last year. It just
we
like,
came out the
I'm gonna
gate
wait till
strong
September.
with Beryl.
Yeah.
Beryl, and then it was dead until about September, and then it made up lost time pretty quick. But by the time we actually got there was no way we were going to get to the crazy numbers that they were forecasting. So
but still, five majors is pretty good though. That's a pretty big number there. So, and there's our forecast right there. So, we're average-ish. I would say, maybe slightly above average on the hurricanes and near average on the majors. So, and I think that's just kind of that weaker influence there. Is kind of what we're hitting on. And then the waters aren't as warm. They're still above average, but not as warm. So, it doesn't shock us to see maybe a half a step down from last year. But still fairly active season. And at the end of the day, like if one of them makes landfall, it doesn't really matter. If you get one of those 2 or 3 majors that we have, or maybe we have 4, who knows? But if one of those makes landfall in Miami or Wilmington, North Carolina, or Myrtle Beach, or heck, if one of them's or New Orleans, or what if it goes up the East Coast and we have a low end Cat 3 making landfall in the Northeast, right? Like, that'd be somewhat historic, but it only takes one. So I found this so I don't know if you've seen this one. I found this one really cool. So these are top 5 analogs years, and these are where the hot spots for that year. So the blue zone, blue areas less active, red areas more active. So I thought this was a really cool graphic. So taking our ENSO phases and picking the top 5 analogs, this is what you get. Really cool graphic. So, but it says if we're going back to Vegas again, we're putting money on North Carolina this year. And I'm not sure how we're going to get an event over there by El Paso, but it's saying look out El Paso. It's all weather data, right? So here we go. Bold predictions not as active as the past years. Not 0, but there is slower in the Gulf. U.S. landfall not a guarantee. 1 to 3 landfalling hurricanes, and Atlantic has the best odds this season. See, I'm even got dice in my presentation. We're all about Vegas.
All about Vegas. And I like that
All
turtle. You
about.
said slower this year.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Slow and steady wins the race. Slow and steady wins the race. So I'm gonna
And
stop my
last year
share.
wasn't too dissimilar from that, where we saw, I mean, we kicked off the season really, really strong with barrel, but as John mentioned, it was at such a slow mid-season, and then we really picked up at the very end of the season, slow and steady.
Yeah, it's the way it goes. Like I said, it takes one. One's all we all. Well, I don't want to say all we need because we need one. But, it's one. The roofers that are watching, they want one. How about that?
Yeah.
And we
So
are
there's a
going
ton
to
of
take some
questions in the
questions.
chat. Yeah.
We're going to take some questions right in the chat. So if people have questions, feel free to drop them there in the comments. But Derik, I do have one first for you to start it off.
Oh, you get to go first, huh?
Yeah, I get to go first since then. So how much storm chasing are you planning to do this year? Because I know you did hurricanes in the fall, and obviously our truck is almost up and running. The storm truck is. So
I'm going to let John use my truck a lot more than I am probably. So John and Taylor are going to take it out. We're going to see what kind of damage. I'm going to challenge them to see if they can break a window. I don't know how much I'll get to do. Yeah, just don't break the engine. That's all I care. That's why we're not going to let Frank take it out. Everybody in the office is laughing now, but yeah, I'm hoping I'll get to go a few times this year. I'm on the road so much for work and family stuff right now that it's not always the thing that I get to do. Now there'll be a season where I'll get to come back and do a lot more of it, but I'd love to get to see a couple of tornadoes this year and some baseball size or softball size hail. So that's and maybe I'll get to see a hurricane this year. So that'd be on my bucket list of things to achieve this year. But I got to be choosy. So I'm not in Oklahoma. Somebody needs to go out on Saturday. That's what I'm thinking. It's Saturday. We don't have a big outbreak underway. If you are a meteorologist working for Hail Trace and you're not required to map the storms on Saturday, you should go storm chase on Saturday. I think that's what I'm going to say. I bet you're going to get to see a really pretty storm. If they're before, I think it'll be after dark. It might be after dark, huh?
I don't know. I haven't actually
looked at timeline yet
too much.
I know
the conditions would be right, for a very isolated photogenic storm, though. Not necessarily tornadic, but some storms.
Yeah,
I do know that
storm with big hail.
Yeah, I should have nearly a full week dedicated to chasing. I have a friend from outside of town who desperately wants to chase for the first time coming into town at the end of April. So hopefully,
did we put that in as a 0 week on our forecast? I think we should have said there were going to be
what
storms
ended up happening is Mother Nature is going to take a little siesta from April 28th to May 3rd.
John, would you travel really far? Say there's nothing here in Oklahoma, but we've got a really good risk out in
South Dakota.
We were on the same page. South Dakota and Nebraska. How far would you travel if you're chasing?
I mean, I'd probably get up to I-80 out by Omaha. It gets tough. You get a little further north of there. I mean, I'm more willing to go further south and further north. There's a lot more population. So
we're gonna find John down in El Paso, chasing that hurricane.
The weather loves taking us on these challenges.
So.
The weather loves us challenging us though on that. Like I'll go up to I-80 and you get up to I-80 and you're like, yeah, this is my target. And then all of a sudden you're like, well, yeah, this doesn't look as good. I better go a little further north. And then by the time you realize it, you're in South Dakota and you're like, crap. I went to South Dakota.
And now you got to drive home.
Granted, if the risk is all the way up in South Dakota and nowhere further south at the end of April, then that means our forecast is having some problems. That means things have gotten hot and dry to the south. But
I was excited to see on the forecast that we were going to see an above average active season out in Western Oklahoma and Western Texas and Western Kansas, because that's great chasing areas of the country. It's flat. There's good roads.
Yes.
They're all grids.
Yeah, and that would when I put that in the forecast, that's like much later on. So that's going to be, not really seeing that till you're getting close to May. Especially we have quite a bad drought in New Mexico and Western Texas right now, and that helps make storms the cap be a little stronger, make storms a little harder to form. So you need a little more energy, and usually to do that, you need warmer temperatures, and that usually happens about May. So I saw someone in the comments ask about the Texas Panhandle, saying it's like, oh, after March is done, is the Panhandle of Texas done? Absolutely not. You guys haven't even started yet. So I'll just throw that out there. You guys can see storms up in through June. So if you're in Midland or Odessa, Lubbock, Amarillo, you guys are just getting started.
Yeah, there we go. John, one of our meteorologists here at Hail Trace, says lots of storms in the Texas Panhandle in late May. He may have been talking about a certain year.
Say
Just
thoughts on
getting
Charleston,
started.
South Carolina. Yeah.
Yeah, we had a lot of questions about different places across the U.S., but you guys can always go back and watch the live once again. If you want to watch the video after this is over, it'll still be up on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Twitter, so you can always go back and rewatch it. Is there any other questions that we haven't gotten yet?
Somebody wants to come chase with Derik next year.
Everybody.
It's like every customer's dream.
I just want to make it cry.
I'm thumbing through some questions right now. Let's see. I got a couple asks about the Charleston, South Carolina hail forecast. Charleston's a hard city to get hit. You guys are right on the water.
Mm-hmm.
Usually you guys don't see storms too often hail wise. I mean, and if you do, it's popcorn summertime storms. So chances are more likely than not, I'm going pure averages, right? More likely than not, you're going to see storms when you get those heating of the day popcorn thunderstorms. You just kind of gotta get lucky. So that's like from May through like August. Can it happen? Yeah. Can I guarantee that Charleston's gonna get hit with at least quarter size hail this year? No. You guys don't have as much of a strong impact from a big large scale storm system like Oklahoma City or Dallas or even like Atlanta would. By the time they get off the East Coast, you're usually seeing a big old squall line, and those don't make as much hail. Another one. I'm trying to see if there are any other ones that I caught my eye.
I think Chicago's going to get a storm this year. Somebody asked about Chicago. I think they'll get something.
Yeah, Chicagoland area. You guys Chicagoland got really close. It was like a week and a half ago. It was pretty close, and that's very, very early for Chicago. Chicago is one of those areas where you could see storms as early as March and see them as late as September. So, and everybody asking about Denver, Colorado. If you're new to working in Colorado, you're going to be on the outside looking in until about early May at the earliest. But usually things shift, and you guys are the center of attention for severe weather from the back half of May all the way into the summer. So.
Some people in Colorado are making their own forecast. I like it. We had one question about Wisconsin. Any thoughts on Wisconsin?
I'd say average, probably. I think what we have them at a 3-star map this year.
Yeah.
If I had to hedge my bets, I would bet a 3 or a 4. I wouldn't bet on a 2. How about that? I wouldn't bet on a 5. So if I had to pick a star level map for Wisconsin, it's either going to be a 3 or a 4 this year.
No. And you guys could be
take it to the bank. Take it to the bank. Cash that check.
Yeah.
Right now.
See where else. And somebody asked about the Austin, Texas area a few times. I mean, there's risks coming up here next couple of days, and all the way through April. Austin's a weird city to get hit. It's almost like a needle in a haystack compared to San Antonio and Dallas, which can get hit all the time. I mean, you had a pretty historic. You probably had like an all-timer storm September of 23. I mean, I think that was one of the costliest hailstorms of the year, which is saying a lot because 2023 did not screw around with hail. So I don't think you're going to match that. But
Mhm.
then again, Texas surprises us, I think, every year. So
It's a pleasant
It does.
surprise, right? It's like there's gonna be
yeah,
a lot,
yeah,
but it's like, oh, I wasn't expecting that one. Austin's
yeah,
like they'll go like 7 years without anything, and then it seems like the last 2 or 3 years has been everything. So kind of
yeah,
see if that trend
Here,
continues. Austin is growing too, so it's getting bigger, which is making it easier to hit.
yeah.
It's true. Growing target.
here's a question for you, Derik. Who gets more hail, Dallas or Denver?
Dallas all day long,
Dallas.
not even close. Of the
I think there's only been like 1 year where Denver won that battle. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Isn't
Was
that kind
that
of like debate between the
19
two?
to the they could debate
it
all
was
they want to.
2018.
They're it's like it's like who's better, the Oklahoma City Thunder or the Dallas Mavericks? It's always the Oklahoma City, or even better, who's better, the Oklahoma Sooners or the Texas Longhorns? Every now and then, Texas a little better, but for the most part, it's OU all day long.
Ooh, you're gonna start
Sorry, I'm
some beef
starting
with some
some
of these
jabs
Austin
here.
folks.
Hey,
I'll tell
interesting
you.
stat about hail though. If you do hail, I don't know if this is still. This was a few years ago. I did this study. If you do hail larger than golf balls per square mile, which city has the most? I'm going to ask the question, see if anybody can get the answer. It is not Dallas or Denver.
I mean, I know the answer. I'm just not saying it because I want the chat to figure it out.
Yeah, anyone in the
So
chat? Do you guys know?
which city? So if we do it per square mile, right? So Dallas gets more hail because it's so big. But if you're like, well, what if I shrunk Dallas down? So then Plano, right? Somebody said Plano. I don't know if that's for earlier or whatever. Yeah, I think it was earlier. But any guesses? Collin, you've got to have a guess.
Someone says St. Louis.
Someone said hook 'em. Can we kick people out of the group? Just messing with you, Blake. Maybe I need to take you with me to the game this year.
What was your
Not
guess,
St.
Colin?
Louis. It is not St. Louis. It's
Yeah,
a much
I don't-
smaller city than St. Louis.
Yeah, is it something like Wichita or something?
Oh,
No.
Wichita, I think, is top 5 though.
Someone
Edwardsville.
has
I've
on
been to
here.
Edwards. I've actually stayed in my RV, and there's like this little. It was one of my favorite RV parks in Edwardsville, Illinois. Actually, I think it wasn't Edwardsville. It was a different town that starts with an E.
That's where I was going kind of up that way. I was thinking either the eastern side of Kansas or into Missouri. No?
Nope. Further north and west.
Further north. So we're going into like what, Nebraska at that point?
Maybe a little further north than that.
We just name every state, we'll hit it.
Uh-huh. Rapid
Someone
City,
has
South Dakota.
South Dakota.
There it is. Jim Douglas got it. I think
Good job,
he said
Jim.
it.
You
I'm
might
pretty
have said
sure
it before. Yeah.
he was definitely typing it before I said it. So somebody send that man a t-shirt.
Jim, if you fill
That man
out the
gets a
form,
t-shirt.
we will send you a t-shirt. I'll write your name down. Well, I knew the most expensive hailstorm was Phoenix. Is that correct?
Uh-huh. Yep.
Yeah, adjusted for inflation.
Mm-hmm. Phoenix, Arizona, October 8th, 2010.
Yep.
Again.
Well, everyone, thanks for joining us today. If you want to go back and rewatch the hail forecast, 2025 hail forecast, you can do that after this video ends. It'll be up on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Twitter. I guess indefinitely. You can watch it whenever you want. You can go back and see how correct we were at the end of the season. So thanks for joining us today. Of course, you can listen on Hail Chatter every other Tuesday is whenever we come out with the podcast. So have a great Thursday afternoon, and we'll see you back here for your forecast tomorrow at noon.